Alright, time for some Christian. Some very, very special Christian. Today's a little bit different than normal, which I shall explain. So, I had an art contest, and the winner of said art contest is the artist who's featured in the left corner. You can see them. They drew this lovely picture of me, which I will be using in all of my streams. I love this picture. It's fantastic. I chose it. They are the winner. And at the end of this stream, I will be showing all of the other people who submitted, so there won't be normal fan art this time, just the other submissions. Now, I asked the winner what they would like, and they responded with, well, Tony, I don't really know. I didn't think about what I would want. I just wanted to draw. So I asked them again, and I said, please just pick something. And they said, all right, you should do the Christian papers, the Manchester high school leaks, like all of his grades and stuff, and his psychiatric evaluation. So that's what we're gonna stream tonight. It's gonna be great. I hope you guys enjoy it. I think it's honestly really interesting stuff for discussion here. And we're gonna start with Chris's essay that he loved so much. He loved this essay so much that he posted it on his own website, like the Sonichu site that he had. It was great. It was great. Oh, you watched some episodes of My Strange Addiction? Yeah, that's a great show. So this is an essay by Chris that he did in high school called How the Pokemon Came into Our Pokeballs. And all of these pictures here are from Pokemon Snap, which I'm not sure what this faded text here is. My best guess is that he wrote the name of the Pokemon. Yeah, because that looks like it says Charizard up here. But this doesn't look like it says, you know, any of the other ones. So I'm not quite sure. So it's pretty interesting. We're gonna read through his whole essay. Let's see, what did he get as a mark on this essay? I believe he got like a really high grade for this. I'm sure it says here in the quickie. So they have transcribed it here on the Wikipedia, and we're going to go ahead and read it, ladies and gentlemen. Some people say that the Pokemon came from the sky in a giant rock known as the Moonstone. Nobody says this. Others say that they originated from the depths of nature's elements. But they are all not true. This is the true story. From Christian Weston Chandler. A long time ago, in the heavens above, there were such powerful gods as Zeus, Meow, and many more. But it all started with a rookie god known as Mewtwo. He had the power to help provide for the animals, plants, minerals, and to keep track of the 7 natural powers of the universe. Fire, grass, lightning, water, fighting, psychic, and the power of the colorless star. Is that good? You guys like that? You have to understand that this was written before Pokemon had its whole like Arceus and like all of that shit. So you can't really say like, oh, he didn't do it right, because this was before then. So that's the only thing I can say about this in its defense. Oh my god. Mewtwo made sure that the animals and plants were fed from nature's good foods. He made sure that nature's minerals, such as rocks, dirt from the ground, and the mucky messes were used for their purpose. If you made a mucky mess back then, Mewtwo would have made sure that it went somewhere correct. Is Chris's grammar bad? Yes. We'll get to that when we get to the Manchester High leaks, which I don't actually know all of this stuff in great detail, as I do a couple of Christian related things, but I can still talk about them. So, one day, Mewtwo said to himself, there must be a way to allow the animals, small and big, to do these tough chores so that I may be able to be a little clean. Then he thought, why not give some of the natural powers to a new type of creature? So he went down to Earth with the power to absorb the natural powers of Earth and share it. So he stood in the middle of the Pacific, surrounded by... So this takes place on Earth. This is implying this is on Earth, which is not correct. Surrounded by islands of 7 and water. He decided to start with... Okay, what's funny is that that's a paragraph break, and that doesn't make any sense to break a paragraph. So he stood in the middle of the Pacific, surrounded by islands of 7 and water. That just doesn't fit as a paragraph break. It just looks weird. I don't like it. He decided to start with making a powerful animal to assist him in his great task. Then he found a weird creature on an island. It was mostly white, blue eyes, short arms, big feet, and a long tail with pink fipsy tip. With a pink fipsy tip. That's good. What is a fipsy tip? Mewtwo has never seen such an animal, so he absorbed the fucker who has, like, all the control and is, like, making reality stable, doesn't know what the fuck this is. Mewtwo has never seen such an animal, so he absorbed the power of Psychic from the stars, gave the creature a gentle rub on its back, and picked it up. And Mewtwo said to the creature, "You, rare creature, have received the supernatural power of the Psychics from the stars above, but you would need a name. For you will be my assistant to make a new type of elemental creatures. I shall call you Mew." And the Mew jumped for joy, then set him down with some wise words. "Mew," Mewtwo said, "I want you to pick some animals that are here for now, and share with them the psychic power, for I would not be able to, because I may only share each elemental power only one time for one creature or more. What? I trust that you can share this power while I handle the other 6 elemental powers." Then he set the Mew down on its island, and it went on its way. So, he can give Mew the power to give other things powers, but he can't give things powers himself? Is that what I'm picking up here? That's like being a guy who doesn't know what a burrito is, but then writing a cookbook about cooking burritos. It just doesn't seem right, you know? When does Noah's Ark come in? Oh my god. Yeah, you should feel better about your shitty fanfics. The fact of the matter is that this got a high grade, which is not a good thing. Page 2. Why is page 2 so much smaller than page 1? Just feels like it's less text. Mewtwo decided to start with the power of grass, so he rubbed the grass of another island's ground, and he waved his hand over the trees. A Triceratops began to lose its horns, and it turned into a creature called Bulbasaur. A caterpillar lost its fuzz, it grew a little bigger, it turned green, and it got the name of Caterpie. Another caterpillar's fur only shortened, it grew a small horn, it grew a little, like the Caterpie did. It turned orange and became a Weedle. The horn from the Triceratops just melded to the Weedle instead. A rattlesnake turned purple and grew a single yellow stripe. It became an Ekans. A rat grew small horns, turned blue, and became a Nidoran, female. And another rat grew bigger horns, turned pink, and became a Nidoran, male. A bat's legs turned to 2 tails, as thin as a blade of grass. Its ears grew bigger, and it became a Zubat, the most obnoxious of Pokemon in caves. A tiny bush sprouted on the ground, grew eyes, and became an Oddish. A fuzzy bush grew 2 teeth like a vampire, and it became a Venonat. What fucking bush is purple? The fuck? A bell-shaped palm shrunk. It became a Bellsprout. A mud puddle grew into a Grimer. 6 eggs bounced and said, "Execute." Execute. A puff of smoke became solid and mentioned coughing. A bunch of vines gathered around another Oddish. It was Tangela. A dragonfly grew and said Scyther. The rocks got a body of armor and said Pinsir. Hello, people in the stream that want to be noticed. You've been noticed. Oh my god. This is bad. You don't just like add this many characters. Like none of this means anything to to the teacher reading this. This means nothing because he doesn't do anything with these characters. If he wanted to do something about Pokemon, he should have done it from the perspective of one. Or maybe, like, the starters. You know? Like, this is every fucking Pokemon. Calm down, dude. Honestly. Speaking of which, Jesus Christ is in my stream. And my friend Stefan told me the best fucking story about Jesus in the Bible. It's called... I don't know what it's called exactly. I'd call it Jesus in the Fig Tree. I'll take a tangent here. So Jesus was really fucking hungry. He was really, really fucking hungry, right? Walking through the desert, being a hungry motherfucker. And and he sees a fig tree out in the distance. And he says, holy shit, I could go for some, tasty figs. And he walks over. And as he's walking over, he's like, I'm gonna dig right in those figs, boy. And he turns to Judas, I'm gonna eat that, those figs. And he gets to the figs tree. And he gets to that fucking fig tree. You know what happens? You know what happens? No fig tree. No, well, no figs on the fig tree, I should say. There were no fucking figs on this tree. No fucking figs. And Jesus looks right at this fucking tree, and he's like, the fuck is this? No figs? You call this a fig tree? With no figs? And he curses the fig tree. Jesus, he turns to the tree, he goes, fuck you. He curses the tree to never bear figs. To never bear figs again. And he just walks along on his way. How did he know it was a fig tree if there were no figs on it? Honestly, right? And he curses it. No more figs are allowed to grow on this tree, he says. And he just walks away. So somebody else probably walked up to that tree and they're like, I totally want some tasty figs. And they're just fucking no figs there. At all. And that's the whole story, as far as I know. That was the best thing that I heard in a while. Alright, let's get back to this story. Then Mewtwo dipped his hand into the fiery volcano of another island, pulled it out, and waved his hand over the volcano. Many animals were below. A baby Tyrannosaurus got fire on its tail and yelled, Charmander! A fox's tail split into 6. Maybe it's now a Vulpix. Is that a question? Is that a question or a statement? Because you put a period implying it's a statement. But you put the word maybe, which is the thing you put for a question. Okay. A dog turned orange and growled. Growlith. A pony got burned and neighed. It's got dark. A chunk of ash was revived and turned into a Magmar, and a big bird flew out of the volcano. It was a Moltres. That's ridiculous, honestly. You are right. Somebody made a comment about how all of these fucking sentences start with an A. You're so correct. All of these sentences start with an A. Which is honestly bad. One thing I remember teachers in elementary school, middle school, high school, they were all about starting sentences differently. They were like, if you've used the word the to start a sentence like 3 times in a paragraph, just like stop using it. Use something else. Right? Like they want you to use different starters so you don't sound like an idiot. And I'm good. Thanks for asking, Nathan. Magmar's a chunk of ash? Apparently. Synonyms. Use the... Yes. Thank you. Like, try harder. Mewtwo then dipped his hand in the ocean's water and gave another wave over another island with a big lake in the middle. A baby turtle and a squirtle and a squirrel on an island joined together to make a Squirtle. You know, if you believe that Squirtle is the combination of a squirrel and a turtle, I get that that makes sense, but I've never seen it that way. I've always seen it as just, it's a turtle that squirts water. It's a Squirtle. That's what I've always thought since I was a kid, and I refuse to believe the fucking thing about squirrels. I won't believe it. A fat duck turned yellow with a headache. It became a Psyduck. A tadpole got bigger with a swirl on its belly. A Poliwag came to be. Oh my god. There's too many A's. Oh my god, every sentence begins with an A. A jellyfish's arm shrunk into 2. It was then a tentacool. You know, I feel like this would be better as like a poem that rhymes. Or like a poke rap, you know? A slowpoke was formed when a baby hippopotamus grew a tail. A seal turned white and grew a horn on its head. It was Seal. I wonder if his teacher thought that was a typo. A shell opened up and stuck out a tongue. Hello, Shelder. Fuck, these sentences are so bad. A crabby came when a crab got crowned. Oh my god. This is the worst paragraph so far. Oh my goodness. A seahorse started to spit oil. A fish grew a horn on its head. And a starfish grew a jewel. All starfish together grew a single jewel. That's what that part of that sentence says. Here were a horsey, a goldeen, and a star ewe. A crown from a treasure grew onto a hard shellfish. He was a Magikarp. What? A crown from a treasure grew onto a hard shellfish. And that's what What? What? I thought Magikarp was like a goldfish or something, you know? What? Okay. A rare Loch Ness monster, you know, because that doesn't have like an actual scientific like dinosaur name for what that could be, you know, it's got to be the Loch Ness monster. Grew a spiked shell on its back. It became a Lapras. A fossil was revived. It was an ammonite. I don't know how to pronounce that correctly. Out of an Arctic iceberg, an Articuno broke out. Why is there an iceberg all of a sudden? The fuck? No splashing in the pool, Magikarp, honestly. Meanwhile, Mew shared its psychic power with a Psyduck and a Slowpoke. When Mew shared it with a rat, it fell asleep and grew into an Abra. Abra's not a fucking rat. It's not a fucking rat. I mean, maybe a little, but come on. When Mew came across the body of a dead lizard, it summoned its spirit and shared some ghastly secrets with it. First of all, that's fucking horrible. Second of all, ghastly is spelt with an H. If you're gonna make a fucking typo, it better not be on the Pokemon's name, because that is a fucking typo. Ghastly is spelt with a G-H-A-S-T-L-Y. Fucking Christ. Ugh, God. Ghastly secrets. Later, Mew met an anteater. Mew put it to sleep and the anteater became a drowsy. Mew found two monkeys with an evolution. One turned into a Mr. Mime, and the other became a Jinx. What? I get what he's trying to say. He's trying to say, like, Neanderthals became Mr. Mime and Jinx. But, like, he just straight up called Jinx the monkey Pokemon. Which, I mean, Jinx was, like, changed color-wise because she was offensive to black people. I don't know, it's a little racy, but unintentionally, so I'll let it slide, but this is a little weird. Later in the night, Mew gave birth, and the baby Mew looked different. The new Mew gave its mother a psychic attack and threw it up a tree. Suddenly, the new Mew grew to the size that a man with many years. It was a Mewtwo! Excuse me, what? Excuse me? Excuse me? It was a Mewtwo? Mewtwo was a fucking clone of Mew, actually. Made by humans. It's a clone. It's not even really a Pokemon, honestly. It's a clone of one. I don't know, you could consider it a Pokemon, I guess, but... no. Mewtwo didn't fucking pop out of Mew's vagina. No. That's not how this works. Fucking Christ. Gengar should have been in this essay. Yeah, he should have. Oh my lord. Jesus Christ. Meanwhile, Mewtwo found a barren island with sand and rocks. he punched it, and out of the ground came the fighting and ground-type creatures. Oh god, this one is just a list. That is so much easier than just having A at the beginning of every sentence. Sandshrew, Diglett, Mankey, Machop, Geodude, Onix, Cubone, Hitmonlee, Hitmonchan, Rhyhorn, and Kabuto. Then Mewtwo summoned a thunderstorm, and lightning struck another island. The lightning hit a little mouse, and the mouse grew into a Pikachu. Metallic minerals rose out of the ground of a small area of the island, and it formed to make a Magnemite. Are you fucking kidding me? Oh my god, Magnemite is a bunch of fucking magnets. He's not a bunch of crystal. Oh my god. A coconut was struck with a piece of the metallic material carrying some of the electric power. What is this metallic material? What is this? Now the material is like flying around stabbing things. The coconut turned metallic and it became a Voltorb. You guys like that? You guys like that? Voltorb is actually a coconut. He's a fucking coconut. A weapon to surpass Metal Gear. A Wildcat was struck and it became an Electabuzz. And Electabuzz is not a Wildcat. And out of the thunderous clouds came a Zapdos. And finally, Mewtwo planted a transparent star in the middle of the other island. What do you mean the other island? You didn't give me a list of how many there were. Or maybe did he say 7? Did he say there were? Yeah, he probably said there was a number. I just can't fucking remember it. It should say from the middle of the last island. That would just make more sense. And from the star came the colorless creatures. Bruh. This is racy. Pidgey, Rattata, Spearow, Clefairy, Jigglypuff, Meowth, Farfetch'd, Doduo, Lickitung, Chansey, Tauros, Eevee, Porygon, and Dratini. Before Mewtwo bid farewell, he waved his hands over all 7 islands, and most of the creatures evolved into more powerful creatures. And then he shouted out, "May these creatures be helpful to the earth, and may they use their abilities wisely." Then, he said with a tear of joy, just one tear, "Farewell, Pokemon." And Mewtwo flew back into the heavens. Weapon to surpass Metal Gear. What is this? Okay. You know the interesting thing about this? Is that this is fucking titled How the Pokemon Came into Our Pokeballs. And there was not one fucking mention of Pokeballs in that entire story. Not once was there a Pokeball mentioned. Humans were not mentioned at all. There was no mention of how they even came into our Pokeballs. In the slightest. It doesn't talk about how they're captured, how people train them, how any of this fucking happened. It's just apparently this is trying to tell me that coconuts are the progenitor to Voltorb. This is essentially Chris giving a story of how he wants Pokemon to be, like, originated, right? The original 151. I don't even know if all of them were mentioned in this. I seriously doubt it. But he did resort to just lists at the end, so... It's really funny. You can actually pinpoint the moment when Chris just becomes lazy and just doesn't want to write anymore. It's right here. Right here is when he just starts making lists, and then from there it's just like it's fucking done. And then like he gets a stroke of genius with some ghastly secrets, and it's just fucking gone. It's just fucking gone, dude. Just just lists. Which, oh god. So, it's supposed to be an origin story for people who don't know anything about Pokemon, you could assume, right? Because he's giving it to his teacher with the assumption she wouldn't know any of this. Hence, it's an origin story to explain that. But it says how they came into our Pokeballs. How would the reader know what a fucking Pokeball is? They wouldn't know what a Pokeball is. This goes in. They are going into this with the assumption that, like, the author is going into this, author, as if Chris is an author, with the assumption that people know what Pokemon is and what Pokeballs are specifically. So he's trying to give a backstory, but it doesn't make sense. You know? Is Earth the Pokeball? No, Earth can't be the Pokeball because he drew it here. Like, he has like an actual picture for that. So it can't be the Earth, because the Earth is definitely not that. It's This is bad. What do you guys think of this story overall? Give me some comments here. What do you guys think of this shit overall? Too complicated for me. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm not artsy enough to understand this. Truly, he's an artiste. That wasn't canon written by Game Freak? I find that hard to believe. You know, it doesn't make any sense. Like, there's this whole first page that talks about Mewtwo, and how Mewtwo comes down and, like, empowers Mew, and then Mew has to give powers to certain Pokemon, and he's like, I can only give one power to one Pokemon. So he gives the psychic power to Mew, but then he gives all the other fucking Pokemon powers too. They all get fire powers and shit. And like, here's the thing, there's no way he can only give them one, because all those Pokemon, well, not all of them, but a majority of those Pokemon have two types. They're not just poison type. They're not just flying type, you know? There's like tons of type combinations. So this fucking Mewtwo is a fucking liar. I just... Moving on. The next thing we're going to look at is the autism papers. Now, these are papers... Let's give a little bit of backstory here. Now, Chris was expelled from his college, Piedmont, Virginia Community College, and he was... Was he really expelled, or was he just put on probation? I think it's more put on probation, if I remember correctly. Now, he was called into Mary Lee Walsh's... What was the grade? What was the grade? I'm not quite sure. Let me see. What was the grade? Let's see. What did Chris get as a grade? I don't know. Maybe it says on this paper. Oh, he got a C. He got a C on this. Chris got a C for this paper, which is pretty bad. So Chris was called in. He was called in to see Mary Lee Walsh, and basically, the long and short of it is that he actually yelled at her. He yelled at another human being. He yelled the Kamehameha at her. And actually did, like, you know, he did the fucking thing where he charges it up and then shoots it. Chris actually did that. The Kamehameha. So he did that to a person in real life. And that was enough. I'm pretty sure this is how it happened. Please, if anybody knows that this is wrong, please correct me. I'm only going off of memory for this particular section. He had to be given psychiatric evaluation. Is Mary Lee Walsh a nice person in real life? She is. Yeah, she was actually... And he talked with Sonichu. Yeah, Chris actually talked with Sonichu in the room. So yeah, he was sent to get psychiatric evaluation, and it's very interesting. It's very interesting to read through this. So I'll explain why I think this is super interesting at the end. Let's go ahead and go through this. Page 1, yada yada, just a bunch of building names. Patient's name, Christian Chandler. That's the name that Chris gave, I guess. Doctor, all that stuff. Mr. Chandler is a 22-year-old SWM with a history of autism who was referred to a psychiatric evaluation following his recent suspension from community college. Suspension, that's the correct word for it. History of present illness. Mr. Chandler says that since finishing high school and starting at PVCC in the year 2000, he has had an increasing interest in a female companion. He attempts at this ultimately led to suspension from the college. His attempts took the form of a sign which he placed next to himself while sitting in the lobby at Piedmont. The sign was a list of qualifications that a potential girlfriend would have. He said that he has been very frustrated by his inability to find a girlfriend, and he suffers from noviophobia. This refers to his frustration that females often tell him that they already have a boyfriend. While he does have physical attraction towards females, his primary frustration is his lack of companionship. He had also carried his sign in the Fashion Square Mall. This unfortunately led to him being detained by the police and placed in handcuffs briefly, although he was not taken to jail. During the interview, the patient provided the examiner with a number of examples of his artwork. Much of this artwork was created on his interest in a video game, Sonic the Hedgehog, as well as Pokemon cartoon characters. The patient's parents provided additional historical information and documentation as to the reasons for his suspension from PVCC. According to his parents, there have been a number of incidents which led to the suspension. They feel strongly that the suspension was unwarranted and did not take into account the patient's developmental limitations. One such occurrence was during an interaction with an African-American classmates. These young women were questioning the patient regarding his search for a girlfriend, at which point he told them that they could not be his girlfriend because they were not white. This was perceived as racially insensitive, although from the patient's perspective, he was merely pointing out that they did not meet his standard criteria for a female companion. He says that he was unaware at the time that there were any connotations to this. Various guidance counselors at the college were working with the patient to help him adjust to the college setting. They had apparently asked him to stop carrying the sign around campus. Per the patient, one of these counselors actually physically destroyed the sign to prevent this behavior. He left an angry note with Miss Walsh, who is in administration. He provided a copy of this note, and it is contained in the chart. It did not specifically threaten her, but expressed his dislike of her, and communicated an intimidating glare in a pictorial fashion. Based on the letter sent to him by the college, this was interpreted by the administration as being a form of harassment. There were several hearings held on the matter, and ultimately the patient was suspended. The criteria that have been met for his... My god, reading this is melting my brain. The criteria that have been set for his return to Piedmont, Jesus Christ, included anger management classes, psychological evaluation, and social skills counseling. He's already undergone psychological evaluation by Rob Hawks at the Center of Learning Potential. The recommendation concerning Mr. Chandler's emotional status is that he seeks psychiatric and psychological treatment. The psychologist felt that the counseling and medication would possibly address his obsessive thought patterns and assist him with social skills. She also recommended anger management training. Past psychiatric history. Mr. Chandler was diagnosed with autism around age 5 or 6. Hey, that's when I got diabetes. He has never had ongoing treatment by a psychiatrist, goddamn, but has been treated in the past by imipramine for unclear reasons. He has never been in a psychiatric hospital and has no history of violent or self-injurious behavior. He has no history of sexual acting out, which is a good thing. Oh my lord. Okay. Do I have water? Alright, I got my water on standby. Let me grab it. Always have water on standby, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. Medications. 20 milligrams of Paxil a day, which the patient has been on for the past 4 years. Herbal supplements, over-the-counter, none. Allergies, none known. The patient does not use tobacco or caffeine, he does not drink, and he does not use illicit substances. Social history. The patient was born in the Ruckersville area. He had a normal prenatal period. He walked at normal age, but was delayed in his language ability. He had some high-frequency hearing loss early on. Per his parents, he did not speak until the age of 7. At around age 12, he began to develop more effective communication skills. He apparently used the closed captioning on the televisions to learn how to read. There was a conflict over where he would have his schooling. The school system or the Department of Social Services had attempted to place the patient in special school. His parents were very adamant that he be in mainstream high school. In order to maintain custody of the patient's father moved them to Richmond, Virginia. He went to a regular middle school and high school while there. He was able to function well academically and graduating from high school in regular classes. He had a number of friends through middle school and high school. I am so fucking glad it says he graduated from high school in regular classes and not honor roll. Thank God. Alright. Family history. The patient's father has significant coronary artery disease and recently had a bypass graft done. He is 77 years old and is a retired engineer from General Electric. His mother is 65 years old and worked on the past at a local bank. Neither of his parents or any other family members are known to have any psychiatric disease. The patient has a maternal cousin who has severe autism, although there was no other family members with developmental delays. Mental status exam. Are you guys ready for this? You guys ready for this? Alright. The patient is a mildly overweight, that's a little bit of an understatement, white male wearing blue jeans and a shirt. He was also wearing a makeshift necklace that has a large plastic medallion in the shape of a Pokemon character's head. He also had a number of shrinky-dink decorations attached to this necklace. He had a large backpack that he carried with him and had a notebook containing a large number of drawings. He showed the examiner an extensive set of trading cards, which he created for his video game characters. The artwork was hand-drawn and then scanned into the computer or for the transfer to the card. He had a number of statistics and other information on the backside of the card. The patient pointed out a series of cards that were of a video game theme, but depicted him in various difficult situations in which he has dealt with recently. He also presented the examiner with his business card containing a link to his website. His speech was somewhat nasal, with frequent awkward laughing during his sentences. His speech was fluent. His responses were appropriate to the questions posed to him. Overall, the volume of his speech was slightly elevated, although his tone was generally pleasant and overall jovial. His thought processes were linear and logical. He was somewhat concrete, especially regarding the social interactions. He seemed to have a good insight into his limitations. As suggested above, his thought content was largely based on his interest in Pokemon. I'm sorry, in Pokemon. And Sonic cartoons. He did not express any delusional thought content. There was perhaps an obsessional quality to his preoccupation with finding a girlfriend, although he did not feel that this was a problem for him. He did not voice any perceptual disturbances, and he did not seem to be responding to internal stimuli. His impulse control appeared to be good during the interview, and his judgment was fair, although social judgment was likely somewhat limited. Fulstein score was 30 out of 30, with his sentence being, "Uncle Spunky is a really funky monkey." Good. Impression. Mr. Chandler is a 2020 vision. As a 22-year-old man with a history of developmental delays and autism, despite these limitations, he seems to have been quite successful maximizing his academic abilities. Despite his significant delays in language, he has over the years developed relatively effective communication skills. He is left, however, with a severe degree of social awkwardness and seems to have insight into this. He is left feeling somewhat frustrated as he has a strong desire for companionship, although his social limitations prevent him from being able to realize this in the way he would like. He has been on antidepressants for many years. It is not entirely clear what role they played. As mentioned above, there is a certain obsessional quality with his thoughts, although it is not clear that he meets the criteria for an obsessive-compulsive disorder. Overall, he has a sense that the Paxil has been effective in tempering his frustrations and anger. His parents also feel that he's benefited from it. He would possibly benefit from psychotherapy, although this would need to be tailored to his interpersonal style. Ideally, this would be done in the setting tailored to patients with this sort of developmental problem. Based on the information available at this time, the patient does not seem to pose any significant threat to himself or anyone else. There is some suggestion that the anger control has been a problem, although how that has manifested itself is unclearly. Okay. He clearly has no history of physical violence, which would suggest any future risk. Okay. And yada yada, diagnosis, and plan. After discussing the risk, benefits, and side effects, the patient and his parents agreed to have his Paxil increased from 20 milligrams to 30. They were offered a prescription, but preferred to have this done by their primary care physician, i.e. I'm sure his parents didn't up it at all, and they probably didn't see the doctor like they were supposed to, is my guess. Though you never know. Releases of information were signed for the counselors at PVCC in case this became necessary for any further evaluation purposes. We will try to work with the Department of Rehab Services to facilitate any other services that might be available for Mr. Chandler. The patient's parents were unsure of whether they would be following up here at the clinic in the future, as there was insurance concerns which may limit this. They were, however, informed of access to emergency care and encouraged to call the clinic with any questions or concerns. No follow-up appointment has been scheduled, although they said that should they wish to continue the patient's psychiatric care at this clinic, we would be more than happy to see him. The patient has been seen by the attending doctors Zakaria Dameron? Not sure how to pronounce that. Who agrees with the above-mentioned assessment and treatment plan. Okay. Okay. Okay, so one thing I think you guys have to... A lot of you guys are writing a lot of comments. The comments are moving real fast. I haven't actually been reading them, but like I can see in my peripheral vision that there's a lot of them moving. So let's go ahead and discuss this. Let's have a mature adult discussion about this. You have to understand that a lot of us looking at Chris's stuff, me and all of you guys, all of us going through this series of Chris Chan stuff, right? We know all about him. We know all of his ridiculous stunts, how insane he is, all the crazy shit he does, right? And we know that from extended interactions with Chris over many years. This is a person who had to give an evaluation of Chris on one meeting alone. That's it. Just one meeting was all they got to give an evaluation of Chris. Which is astounding when you consider how much we know about him and how people are perceive him and how we see him and all of that. And he just got one meeting with him. Yeah, I'd say he did a good meeting with one job too. With one meeting, I'd say he got it. But it's funny. Like, he thinks Chris talks like completely normal. If he was talking to Chris for extended periods of time, he would probably realize that Chris's speech patterns are just weird. They're just weird. I'm sure the more he learned about Chris's parents, he'd realize that, you know, something's not right there. It's really interesting. And hello people that are just joining the stream. I see a couple people are coming in. It's your first stream? Nice. I always love when I have newbies here. It's a good time. Like, we know that Chris is obviously not well. He made fun of 9/11. He called black people he didn't even know niggers for funsies. He pepper sprayed a guy. I mean, a lot of that stuff was after this evaluation. Let's take a look back. Let's take a look back at the stuff that happened before this evaluation. Let's take a look at that shit. He has his attraction sign. He told black girls that he wouldn't date them. He wouldn't date Asian girls. He would only date white girls. He didn't understand that was a racist thing to say directly to someone. If you're like, I have a preference for white girls, that's a little different than just saying, I will not date black girls. That's a little different. That's a little different. You know? Like, he fucking cursed Mary Lee Walsh with a Kursiameha. Like, he's done so many crazy shit, and this person doesn't know any of that, and they can still peg. They can still peg a lot of Chris's crazy shit. They can still peg it. It's great. Like, he makes mention many times of Chris and his desire for a girl, right? I'm really astounded that this person didn't give it a name, you know? The person didn't write down that it was called the Love Quest. It's crazy. It's great. Like, he hits the pretty important things, I'd say. He hits the fact that Chris is absolutely infatuated with his love quest. The evaluator hits that right on the head. And he also hits the fact that Chris is absolutely obsessed with Pokemon and Sonic. And the funny thing is that this person doesn't make mention of the fact that Chris combined this into Sonichu. He sees it as two separate obsessions. Whereas I don't even think Chris is obsessed with Pokemon or Sonic anymore. It's his obsession with Sonichu, this thing he's made on his own. it's really interesting. I wonder if over time, what they would write about Chris and his obsession with Sonichu. It's very interesting. I also find it interesting they didn't think it was weird that Chris wrote Uncle Spunky is a really funky monkey. Because that's just weird. It's very strange. It really isn't hard to see. It probably wasn't hard for them to see this, but I'm glad that they did. Like, considering Chris's medallion and the fact that he pulled out those Pokemon cards is interesting. This was also a time when Chris carried around all of his custom Pokemon cards and shit. Like, he carried all that around with him, which is super interesting. It's great. Like, I wonder what would have happened if Chris still went back for repeat visits. And I'm sure that there probably wasn't even an insurance problem. They probably just didn't want to take him back there because they didn't want to be bothered. Chris's parents, I mean. And Chris absolutely didn't want to go, I'm sure. I'm sure of that. Uncle Spunky is a really funky monkey for ASMR. Oh my god. Honestly, this is just, it's such an interesting paper because it's a completely different perspective from what we've seen. This isn't somebody who like had a friend go up to them and they're just like, dude, let me show you this Christian guy. He's fucking ridiculous. He's got like a bent dick. You know, like, this wasn't somebody who learned about Chris like that, as most people do, right? This isn't somebody who learned about Chris through his ridiculous antics on the internet. This is a Chris this is just a person who Chris was just shoved into and they had to give an evaluation, and that's what they did. It's super interesting. It's super interesting. This is what they write. It's astounding to me. Alright, so we're probably just going to glaze through this section. We're going to leave it at that. I really love the idea of just that perspective of Chris, you know? It's such a unique perspective that you really don't see. You really don't see that perspective. We're not anywhere on the Christian timeline as of right now. We're just all over the place. That psychiatric evaluation and the essay and all that is different times. So these are the Manchester High leaks. For those of you who don't know, when Chris's house burned down, trolls went to his house and rummaged through the wreckage and retrieved these folders. These folders have water and burn damage on them, and these are records from Chris at high school. These are the things that he saved from high school, and it's really interesting. Is Smite on Tuesdays? I have a schedule. Let me show you my schedule, buddy boy. Nightbot will send you a schedule, good friend. If you're ever wondering, Tony, what's your schedule? Tony, when's the Christian stream? Tony, when is this? Please just type in schedule and Nightbot will tell you what the schedule is. Don't you worry, guys. Nightbot is here to help you out. Yeah, trolls actually went to his house and went through his wreckage, which is probably taking it a little bit too far, but it is interesting to see all of these papers. So there's a bunch of them. There's the parenting interview, describing development, help this unborn child. There's a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff. Some of the interesting ones are the ones that he writes in Spanish. And I don't mean like all Spanish. Like, he'll write English and then put Spanish in there. I'm trying to find an example of that. When Chris was taking Spanish classes, in his regular old classes where you're supposed to use English, obviously, he would sign his name as Ricardo Weston Chandler, and he would also go and write in Spanish sometimes, and the teachers would give him high grades. It's really, really weird. It's really weird. Let me see if I can find an example of this. Let me just Control F for Spanish. Okay, the Japan War essay. This seems like a good place to start. Transcription. Christian Weston Chandler. Intro paragraph. Oh, this is something that has always stuck with Chris. You know that thing they teach you in writing where they're like, the main sentence is the top of the burger, and the middle is the potato, the middle is the lettuce and tomato, and then below that is the meat, and then below that is the cheese, and then the bottom of the bread. Like, that's a thing that they teach you in school to like get you to understand how to write paragraphs, right? Like the beginning and end are just there to fill in the middle, right? Chris has taken this very much to heart. This is not a burger. This is not a burger that Chris has. Chris is in the form of like a meal. So the intro paragraph is an appetizer, the first body is like a salad, the second is like potatoes, rice, pasta, the third is meat, and then the last is the dessert, okay? So Chris has taken this entirely to heart. Chris does not believe in writing a paper unless he writes it in this form. He really does not believe in writing papers unless they're in this form. If you look at Chris's writing today versus back in high school, it is structured exactly the same, which is super interesting. So let's take a look at Chris's essay. This is an essay on the Japan War. So let's go ahead. Intro, yada yada. Now we'll see how the Japanese people were involved, how the past affected, and how World War II easily really started. Okay. On my honor, I, Christian Weston Chandler, pledge that this paper reflects my own thoughts. Any sources used to support my ideas have been properly documented. That's lovely. Another thing you have to understand about Chris and his writings is that all of them are written from the, not all of them, but pretty much all of them are written from the first person perspective, which you're not supposed to notice. Like, you're not supposed to do that. That's not a good thing. What is the spell check? Chris doesn't spell check. Most of these are handwritten, so inaccuracies and spelling errors. I mean, it's a handwritten thing in high school. I mean, come on. So, let's go ahead and do this. Very confusing plus unclear, says the teacher. Yeah, what does that sentence have to do with anything? It doesn't act. It's not an intro section. It doesn't say anything. Or did Chris just put that above the actual essay, I wonder? Japan, 1912 to 1949. This essay is about the Second World War, where the US went against Germany and Japan. There were other countries too, besides the US, Germany, and Japan. The war was a very tragic event with guns, insults, and yuck. Now we will see how Japan was involved, how the past before it affected it, and how the war was started. That's good, right? You guys ever have your teachers in high school or whatever give you papers to like look at, like how to not do papers, right? Like example papers, and they'll have like emojis drawn on them or like little smiley faces and like this is a totally tubular essay. Like that's what Chris does. Chris is those example essays. It's really ridiculous. Oh my god. Like all fights, the war did not start big, but oh my god. Just a little skirmish between Japanese troops on night maneuvers and Chinese troops guarding the Marco Polo Bridge. So the war was started only because of privacy invasion for US, but even before that skirmish, the Japanese and Americans had been glowering at each other like boxers from opposite corners of a 5,000-mile ring, waiting for their bout to begin. So the US and Japan really wanted to get it on. Yeah? Did they though? Did they though? Is that what it was? Japan and the US were just eyeing each other. Just, Japan, I just want to go over there and, I don't even have a joke for this. Like, I don't have a comment or like a joke. What do I say to this? Ugh. I'm reading Christian Weston Chandler's high school essay about the Japanese war with the US during World War II. Am I seriously doing this? What is my life? Alright. During the wait for the start of the war, the Japanese were cloistered on their remote islands with little contact beyond the sea. They deemed themselves as a superior race and the rest of the world as barbarians. But the real barbarians were the Japanese themselves. It's a little racy. The US thought the same way, and when Japan marched into Manchuria in 1931, the US denounced the action and said they would never recognize Japan's conquest. Right then, the US wanted to prove themselves more superior. As the war went on, both sides... Didn't he already say that? As the war went on? Maybe not. Both sides saw that the war was unwinnable. Unwinnable. Wartime in Japan was viewed as sinister. Near the end of the war, President Woodrow Wilson tried to get Japan to withdraw from Shandong. Even the President of the US tried to put an end to the nasty war. And so, after the war finally ended, US and Japan came into peace, and people from both sides were happy. Now we saw how the war started and how much Japan was involved. You know, except for that thing that they did that was a pretty big deal, where they flew planes into a part of the US. You know. What was it called? I think it was something called the French Revolution. Nah, but seriously, it was the it was the fucking Jesus Christ. Really? You're gonna write an essay about Japan in World War II and you're not gonna write Pearl Harbor? You're not gonna write down Pearl Harbor? That's like talking about Osama bin Laden and you don't make one reference to 9/11. You're just like, you just don't even acknowledge that that fucking happened, honestly. Really? So that was Chris's rough draft, I think. I believe this was his rough draft. Okay, this must have been his final draft. Oh my god. So what are these marks? I think these are the teacher. Either these are the teacher correcting him, or it's Chris marking it out. So Chris signed this paper as Ricardo Weston Chandler, 5/5/1999, in English 1. Could you imagine being an English teacher and this fucking kid comes up here, like this fucking white ass kid comes in here from Spanish class and he's just like, yes, hello, I am Ricardo. I like the quesadilla is muy good. I like, it's good, yes. Could you imagine that? Could you imagine being that fucking teacher, having that shit happen? Oh my god. You know, I'm honestly not surprised. Sega, I'm not surprised that Chris kept his old high school records. Chris clung on to high school ridiculously, as we've seen in the comics. He's obsessed with it. He's obsessed with it. There's no way he wouldn't want to keep any relic he has. And I'm sure his parents kept this for the most part. I know my mom kept a lot of weird stuff I did in school. And it wasn't even because she kept them on purpose. She just sort of had them. I don't know. That just seems to be a thing that people have. I'm not quite sure. I'm not a parent. I couldn't tell you why. Some good-ass water. This essay is about the teacher cited this and wrote weak in the margin. Thank God, this is horrible. This is not how you start an essay. This essay is about... I once had to help my sister write an essay, and oh my god, she's really bad at writing essays. Holy shit. Like, I'm great at writing essays because I'll bullshit them. I'm not, like, great, but, like, I can write an essay because I can bullshit it real well. But, like, my sister can't write to save her life. And she'll legit start an essay with, this essay is about. And I had to tell her, like, stop. Stop. Oh my god. This essay is about the Second World War, where the US went against Germany and Japan. The war was a very tragic event with guns, insults, and yuck. Teacher wrote a no sign over this and wrote no slang in the margin. Thank you. If I was the teacher, I would have been like, the fuck is this? And like put that in the margin. My god. Now we, teacher circled this and wrote third person in the margin, will see how Japan was involved, how the past before it affected it, and how the war was started. Like all fights, the war did not start big, but just a little skirmish between Japanese troops on night maneuvers and Chinese troops guarding the Marco Polo Bridge. Teacher struck through this and wrote author above it. Yeah, because Chris wrote the book and not the author instead. So the war was started only because the privacy of U.S. of... I don't know if Chris is trying to say... He's trying to say us, I think. Because I think the other times he wrote the U.S., he wrote it with like the periods. I think he's trying to say us, but I'm not sure. But it looks weird. But even before that skirmish, the Japanese and Americans had teacher circled this word, had glowering at each other like boxers from opposite corners of a whatever ring. The teacher wrote author above this as well, because Chris doesn't cite correctly. So the US and Japan really wanted to get it on. Why didn't the teacher comment on that? Honestly. Why didn't he comment on the get it on thing?
It had guns and insults, and it was so yucky.
That's honestly how he writes his papers. Fucking water, man. That's good shit. It's the only thing that keeps me alive. During the wait for the start of the war, the Japanese were cloistered on the remote islands with little contact beyond the sea. They deemed themselves as yada yada. That's not Chris's writing. Teacher wrote author, but the real barbarians were the Japanese people themselves. The U.S. thought the same way, and when oh my god. When Japan marched into Manchuria in 1931, the U.S. denounced the actions and said they would never recognize Japan's conquest. Oh my god, they just keep writing author because he doesn't cite. Then the U.S. wanted to prove themselves more superior. Half of this essay is just Chris citing. That's it. It's just citing. As the war went on, both sides saw that it was unwinnable. That is not what happened. I think we won. Because we had a thing. It was a pretty powerful thing. We dropped 2 of them right on them. It was a pretty big deal. It was a pretty big deal. Honestly, Chris is just leaving out like everything. Oh my god, there's no Pearl Harbor. There's no Fat Man and Little Boy. What's the fucking point of this? He also says that he's going to talk about how this got started, but he does not once talk about how this got started. He talks about how the Japanese fought the Chinese, yeah, but that has nothing to do with the US. Oh my lord. It's ridiculous. Alright, where am I in this shit? As the war went on, both sides thought it was unwinnable. Even the president of the U.S. wanted to put an end to this nasty war. Teacher wrote, restate thesis in margin. And so after the war finally ended, the U.S. and Japan agreed to peace. And most people from both sides, if the war had ended, then of course there's peace. Because there's no longer a war. And people from both sides were happy. Now we saw how the war was started, how the past before it affected it, and how much Japan was involved. You guys think that was good? You guys thought that was good? That was a good time, yeah? Fucking Christ. Ugh, best president essay. Oh my lord. That's just a very long example of one of Chris's essays. All of Chris's essays are like this. They all use slang. They all don't speak in the correct person. They all just fucking are bad. Please, just, it's bad. And the funny thing is that most of these papers were given good grades. Oh, this one's got drawings on it, I think. Oh yeah, here we go. Chris drew examples. Examples of adjectives. El elefante es muy grande. Gordo. Mario es muy gordo. Oh my god. The fuck is this? Who is this? This is Sarah Boyle, yeah? This is one of his friends, I think. That Pidgey is fucking big. And that is a brown Raichu. That is not the correct color for Raichu. What you wanted, Chris, was the orange that you used in that Pidgey's hair. This is not correct. He also did it again with the Powerpuff Girls over here, and I don't know what that is, or that. That looks like a early prototype of a jerk-off. Great. Let's find some more Spanish shit, shall we? Oh, here we go. There we go. Chris also drew professions relating to different places, I believe. Or flags. Let's look at this. Ain't this just the spitting image of a cop on his motorcycle, ain't it? Look at that perspective. Ain't that good? Ain't that a good perspective, boys? That's good shit. Oh my god. What else is here? Oh, it's a ninja because it's Japan, get it? Which is funny because he's using the Arabian skin that you can get for your Legos. He used look, there's the headscarf, there's the saber. Ninjas don't look like that. This is not what a fucking ninja looks like. Oh my god. What do we got here? A mailman for China. The Chinese are known for their immense population of mailmen. You know, Japan did invent the mailman on a bicycle. I guess that's what this picture says. All of these bleed into the next page, which is great. What is this one? This is for mechanic. The fuck is this? Oh my god. Spaghetti. Fucking spaghetti. Everything is Lego related, yeah. Chris also interjected Pokemon and Lego and video game into everything he did. That's something you realize in these school papers. Look, you can see you can actually see the burn damage on these papers. Kind of sad, ain't it? A firefighter, I think. That looks like a fire hose, and that's a fireman's axe, and that's one of those like fireman helmets, sorta, I guess. Why he's wearing a suit? I'm not quite sure. You know, Canada's known for their mailmen, fire boys, right? Right? He could have drawn a Mountie, but he didn't have a Lego Mountie, so I guess he didn't try. Spaghetti. You know, construction work. That's a thing. That's a thing that happens, right? Yeah, that's a thing that happens, guys. Oh my goodness. I'm already in the latest episode of this stream, and only now I'm asking why you do. You know? American, Canadian firefighters. Oh my god, did he make a bingo board? Here we go. A bingo-like icebreaker activity in which the students of the class were supposed to get to know each other by exchanging personal trivia. Chris refused to talk to any male students and left the grid incomplete, including the square he was supposed to fill in himself. So he only did the girl section, and didn't do one for a male student, or himself. Oh my god. That's the laziest shit I've ever heard. That's lazier than me. Oh my god. Has 2 or more sisters. Where to? Korea. Yeah, totally. Let's go to Korea. Just the one Korea. Let's see, is there more Spanish examples? Here we go. Lucky writing tips. There we go. This is crit. Someone's online in my BattleNet. Where will you be when BattleNet strikes? The 13 lucky writing tips are a list of notes Chris took, which were most likely suggestions and recommendations, duly ignored, from a textbook that were read by a teacher. So this is Chris's note-taking. 13 lucky writing tips. Use standard written English. Tip number 1. Do not use contradictions in formal writing. You must have a thesis statement in each essay. The thesis statement es el finale sentence. Es estans de introductory paragrafe. Use standard written English. Es muy bueno, sí. Tu escribes de literature, el thesis en color el intelligible llama. I'm not gonna say Yama because it's Chris. He probably pronounces it llama. De author y llama de work. Es good. Isn't that some good shit? It's not even fucking Spanish. It really ain't. It's not anything. Oh my god, he just stops halfway through number 4 and just does Spanish. Los paragraphs. Oh my god. Number 1, use standard written English. Use standard written English, please. Woo! Woo! Oh my god. So all of Chris's essays are like this. They're all like this. Where they're just like half Spanish halfway through, which is absolutely lovely. Alright guys, we've been streaming for about as long as I would do a normal Chris Chan stream. So we're gonna end it here, and we're not gonna do fan art this time. We're actually gonna do some special fan art where we're gonna show the people who submitted to the art contest. So we've got 12 people here, 13 people in total submitted. Actually, no, yep, we have 13 here. This was, of course, the winner, as you can see in the lower left-hand corner. I chose this one. This is the one I liked, so I picked it. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna look through all of these and take a look at the people and what they submitted. And thank you to everybody who submitted. I am very happy that anybody submitted at all. So let's go ahead and look through. So this one, I didn't actually put your names on these. I apologize. I didn't want to change. I saved it using the file names that you guys use. This one was saved on them by Tony's submission. TonyCCContest.png. I just thought that some of yours were funny. Some people had some funny stuff as the titles. This one I thought they tried to draw me like JoJo, which was funny. I actually really liked this one. I don't know, like the face isn't close to mine. Like it's close, but like I don't know. I don't know if I have that intense of an eyebrow, you know? But I do like it a lot. I like the texture that they got on the hair. It's interesting. And I also like the style of the art. I like all the styles I've gotten for tons of stuff. It honestly looks like I'm a JoJo character, which is good. I love JoJo so much. And it's good. So, here's another one. This person actually asked me if they could draw me in a Gengar shirt. They asked me what my favorite Pokemon was, which was cool. Everybody drew me with stuff like this. They all drew me with a t-shirt. They all drew me the same. Red t-shirt or red sweatshirt with the logo on it. This, I think, was the only person who drew me with something different. Drew me with my favorite Pokemon, which I thought was cool. Does this one have the glasses? Oh, it does, yeah. I think only one of them maybe didn't have the glasses, but everybody got pretty much everything correct in terms of what to do, which is cool. I thought that was really cool. What's your favorite Pokemon type? I prefer Ghost-type Pokemon, because Gengar is my favorite. So, most Ghost-type Pokemon I think are really cool. I really like Dark-type Pokemon. I might like the type Dark just a little bit more than Ghost, but overall I like Ghost-type Pokemon. So, that was cool. This person did not have any sort of way to draw it digitally, so they scanned it, which makes it very difficult for me to choose it, but I appreciated the submission. I mean, it was interesting. Most of the people drew me just standing like this, but this one actually drew me doing a physical action of burning a medallion, which is pretty neat. I thought that was cool. Also, the Sonichu has tiny glasses, which is nice. This was the only one drawing me with an action, which was kind of neat. Maybe there was another with an action, but I can't quite remember. Yeah, this one has me with an action. La la la.png. I'm doing a thumbs up, which is a thing I do in real life all the time. For those of you who don't know, I like doing thumbs up. Thumbs up is a legit thing to do in real life, and if you don't do a thumbs up, you're just a boring person. So, thumbs up are good. I like the glasses on this one. They have like a glare on them, which I think is cool. I like that effect. I also thumbs up. It's a good time. This one is cool. This one has the most interesting color palette out of all the ones, I'd say. It's very unique with the color palette. My hair is very poofy. I actually did have hair that was that poofy at one time. When I was in high school, my hair was very poofy like that. And then my hair just sort of stopped doing that, which thank God it did. It did this for like 1 year. I don't know what happened. Maybe I had a new shampoo or something, but holy shit. Holy shit, my hair poofed up like this all the time. I thought it was cool, because I'm doing this. I think that's cool. This one also says Daddy on it, which is nice. I do like that. Poof is nice. I like the poof. A lot of these, it was really hard to pick a winner, honestly. It was very hard to pick a winner, because I love all the art that I got. This one has Dane in it, if only because they didn't cut him out. This was submitted by somebody who is making a Chris Chan video game, and in the Chris Chan video game are cameos from like people that like did Chris Chan stuff. And he put me and Dane in the game as a cameo boss fight, which was pretty cool. I think you can see it on like the Quickie Farms, like where he posts updates and stuff. He has a video of doing a boss fight against me and Dane, so that was cool. These are the sprites that he used for us, the enemy battle sprites. So this is me, and presumably I would just cut Dane out and just use myself, which is cool. He drew me in my JoJo stuff, which is nice. For those of you who don't know, I went to Kineticon, which is a convention where I live, and I went dressed as Joseph Joestar with my cheap costume, but it came out pretty good. This one, oh my god, the face on this one is probably one of the more detailed of the ones that I got. So, how is Dane? He's good. If you guys are ever wondering how Dane is, he's always good. He's always a happy guy. This one, oh boy, the face. It's so detailed. It's got my cheekbones, it's got my defined jawline. The hair is a little light. My hair is a little darker than that. My hair is close to black, actually. But the hair is nice. It's very swooshy, you know? Like, my hair is fucking wild and crazy like that. Especially if I get up from a nap or something. It's really cool. I also like the pose I'm in. The pose is nice. It's a straight JoJo pose. It also looks like I have muscle. I went over these pictures with DJ Glitterbuns. Like, I've been looking at these, of course, as soon as I got them. But I looked over all of these at once with DJ Glitterbuns this morning. And she pointed at this one, and she goes, "Oh my god, Tony, you have muscles." And then she grabbed my arm and, like, felt for muscles, and I'm like, "There's nothing there." And she's like, "You know, maybe, just a little bit." So this one I've got some straight muscle definition, which is nice. I do like the muscle definition. Oh my god. So it's nice. Also, this is weird, but I like how the logo is like, it's curved here. It's good. This one is interesting. I think this was one of the first ones I got. I think this is the first one I got, actually. I think I got this on the first day. A couple hours after I put up the video asking for art submissions. And this one drew me with a Sonichu medallion, which is interesting. They sent me two versions, and I didn't actually look at the differences between the two of them, but they sent me one version and they were like, "Oh, I didn't do it correctly." I think the first version didn't have eyes in the Sonichu medallion, which I kind of thought was creepy and cool. But how is DJ Glitterbun? She's doing really well. She's doing really well. Oh, you were at a sci-fi convention? That's awesome. That's great. So this one's cool. This actually does look like me. I do the raised eyebrow thing. I do the half smile smirk and cross my arms. This is a pose that is what I would do. It looks just like what I would do. It's nice. It's cute. I like it. This one is an edited version of a picture they drew of me and Dane, and in that one I'm not quite sure, but I think I'm wearing a t-shirt in that one that says like something else on it, and they just colored over it in red. But in that picture I'm like, it's a picture of me and Dane with Sonichu Sweethearts, and Dane gets Sylvana, and I'm pretty sure I got Magagi La Skunk. which was the best one. I'm very smug in this one. They also got my brown eyes, too, which is interesting. My eyes are definitely closer to just, like, straight black. My eyes are such a dark brown that it's just, like, black. But it's interesting. They put, like, hazel, I guess. So that's neat. This person told me that they couldn't actually draw, like, people very well, so they drew it in Sonichu, which is neat. I did say that you could draw it with any art style that you have, like you could draw it like anime or whatever, and you know, like a manga style, you could do whatever. So I didn't point out that you couldn't draw me anthropomorphic. So somebody drew me as a Sonichu, which is cool. This is the only one I got that wasn't like regular, you know. It's the only one with the Sonichu, or like me as an animal, which is cool. I don't have a beard, but like I have like this fur that kind of looks like a beard, which is nice. My mustache is Sonic was not made to have mustaches on them. I'm just gonna say that right now, but I kind of like it. The color choice is pretty great. Like it's this color, I like it a lot. It's like a weird greenish, orangish brown. I don't know. It's nice. I like it. So that's really cool. I appreciate the different style. And this one is DJ Glitterbuns described this one as cute. She said it was very cute and pudgy. She liked how cute and pudgy this one was. So that was cool. My ear is very square, but I like it. This one's got I've got such a fluffy beard. My mustache and beard look so fluffy. You know, I let my beard grow, well, I didn't want to let it grow out, but like, because I wounded my hands, I wasn't able to shave, so my beard grew out while my hands were recovering. And I had a beard that was just like this. It was so fucking thick and fluffy, and it was awful. I hated it because it was too much. And it looked just like this. It was all fluffy. Look at him waving. It's good. Oh, what's going on? What's going on? Oh, is that it? That's all of them. I think there's the last one that I gotta look at way at the end. This one was done by Max Metal Knight, and when I streamed Overwatch earlier today, he told me I was supposed to critique the shit out of this one. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna go through this one. And I like it. DJ Glitterbun says that she liked the way that the hair did this on the beard. She liked how it did this on like the mustache and the goatee and the beard, and then I got a jawline. It's neat. Honestly, if I was to give it an honest critique, I'd probably tone down the hands. The hands are a little big. It's got some yaoi hands, so they're a little large. Little large, you gotta tone that down. Maybe it's just, it's this way that's large, you know? Like it would be better if you just took a finger off, you know, with like Simpsons hands, it would look a little better. So, are we just gonna ignore the Jesus War? I mean, if they want to have a Jesus War, they can have one. Oh my god. I got big hands, man. Big hands Tony. Big hands Tony, that's what they call me. Oh my god, there is so much Russian in my chat. Am I gonna have to ban someone for spamming Russian in my chat? Please. Please don't spam Russian in my chat. Oh my lord. The shirt. Alright, so I gotta give this an honest critique. He told me I was supposed to critique it. I like the eyebrows. The eyebrows are good. You can't see it because it's black on black, but the hair is actually pretty good. It's pretty good. The shirt needs a little bit more dimension because this looks like it's not really on the shirt, the logo. But other than that, I like it. It's good. It looks like me. Maybe the skin tone could be a bit darker because I'm a bit darker than this, but it's nice. I like it. It's good. I remember that I had two Jesuses arguing in my chat before, and I definitively picked the Jesus Christ, this Jesus Christ that I put one of these Jesuses I picked as the real Jesus. One of these Jesus is an imposter. I picked the real one. I know which one is the real one. This one, this is the one that I picked to not be the real one. In timeout you go. That one, that Jesus, the one that's this Jesus Christ is the one that I've determined is the real one. I determined he was the real one in a Fallout stream ages ago. I don't know, there's like tons of people who are Jesus in my chat. Oh my goodness. There you go, the war is done. So thank you guys for joining me on this stream. I really hope that was good for the winner of the art contest. I hope that you enjoyed this stream and the read-through of the psychic evaluation and everything else. I hope it was enough. I hope it was good. So, you know, good night, everybody. Ooh, look, it's my subscriber alert thing that decided to pop up for some reason. So good night, everybody. Have a lovely evening to all of you, and thanks for joining me on another Chris Chan adventure. Good night.